we, sharing sort of Vision Zero, our little success story slash the background for a cool thing that ended up happening as part of the implementation, which is, so Vision Zero was, it's a commitment, many cities follow it, that to decrease the number of deaths to zero from any fatal or any serious injuries from car accidents. So, pedestrians getting hit by cars and stuff. Really great program, we're very committed to it as a city. And prior to that, we really wanted to just know, how many people do get hurt right now, and, what does that look like? So we started digging around, it was a lot of calls to people who were like, hey, can you send me this data? Like, oh no, sorry, HIPAA, oh no, sorry, we don't have that. We eventually talked a lot of agencies into buying in, to sharing a common standard. It was a huge effort. And then we were running into all these really weird problems. So, for example, our system for Vision Zero, when you get into a car accident and somebody sees you, and they say, hey, I see an accident in front of 123 Main Street. Cool. Car responds, ambulance comes to the scene, and how we get the data is that it looks like the car drove into 123 Main Street because that's the address locator. So, and prior to this, we just published that as is. So we're like, okay, whatever, they're dots, they're close enough, you can kind of tell the area. And then people would complain. They're like, nobody drove into my house. Please don't show that. So we're like, okay, that's fair. So we started looking for solutions how to make the data look actually correct. And this was what came in. We have some very brilliant people working on our team. This is by no means my accomplishment, but we certainly we collaborated very heavily, and we found that something called PostGIS. We ran a Postgres backend database. A PostGIS add-on, which is a spatial component to Postgres, an open source software that allows you to run SQL queries that allow you to do spatial computations. Simply, it's a query. If you know SQL, yeah, you have to know some extra SQL, but it's just SQL in the end of the day. And we were able to, internally, to basically call something snap these points from 123 Main Street, the house, to the road in front of the house. And it was literally 2 lines of SQL code, and it was just mind-blowingly incredible. So we were so happy, we pat ourselves in the back, we published the new data. People complained again that, well, actually, if it's a long and skinny house, and the point was in the middle of it, it would snap to the closest street correctly, which was the side street. But since we have a pretty open, a strong commitment to open data, we published everything, street names included. So people were saying that the accident happened on the side street, it looks like it happened on the side street, but it actually happened on Main Street. But because of the way that the map worked, it would snap to the closest side street. Cool. So we end up digging in there, and what ended up happening is something we called the query, which was a very short, I want to say 15 lines of SQL code that did all of this. It found the dot, it snapped it to the street, and then it also did a match on the street name and the addressing system to the match of where the crash was by street name. A simple where clause in SQL. But the fact that we can do this in 15, 20 lines of code was incredible. And we sort of realized the sheer power of this. And before that, this process, which didn't snap anything to anything, still took 2 weeks and involved 3 archaic systems, massive enterprise systems that constantly failed. And this poor guy would spend 2 weeks just running this code that was constantly failing, and eventually he'd get a success. So the query was kind of revolutionary because it literally 15 lines of SQL code, and we can do this. So we ended up, when we were in the negotiations for the contract with Civis, the backend was not Postgres, and we very nicely asked, and Civis very nicely agreed, to implement the first ever Postgres backend for us with PostGIS. So we run that now as a backend, and it is incredible. Honestly, Vision Zero is one of the first things that we loaded into it. We have many other things in the pipeline that are coming. A great example that is something so simple to do now, for example, we have restricted income properties that often get 301 cases that they have to take care of themselves. Our 301 system also works on the addressing system. So if you report a sidewalk problem, it might not get mapped to the house, and the owners of this house will never know that it's their problem until it comes back through layers of systems and bureaucracy and eventually funnels their way. But by that time, the constituent already hates everything. So, nobody really was too happy. So they asked us if they can give us, we can provide them every 301 case within 30 feet of the following addresses, and they just gave us a list of addresses. And before, this would be pretty hard, pretty manual. There'd probably be an analyst who'd spend maybe an hour of their time a week or something, running these numbers and sending it to someone. And with PostGIS, we're like, yeah, we can. It's a query. It's a buffer. It's a 30-foot buffer. We put that in, and we just put out a report. And this person never knows that It went from super difficult to super easy. He just gets a report with a table of cases, and that's it. So the leverage of the power, and we've been expanding the use of this technology in basically every aspect, and honestly it's been revolutionary.